Right, for the next couple of minutes, I want us to talk about procrastination. And like I said before, um, you can't talk about self-motivation without talking about procrastination. Why? Because procrastination is the number one enemy of action. The same way that motivation is the protagonist, is the drive, is the driver of action, if you like. So procrastination is like the opposite. It's like the number one disease of action. And I thought it's really important that we spend some time today to talk about what procrastination is and um, and 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 really see how we can tame this devil, if you like, and for our own success and for our own progress. Because if there is one thing that really hampers our progress, that hampers our achievement of our dreams, that hampers everything that we set out to do, is procrastination. And that cuts across everywhere, from childhood to adulthood, to schools, universities, at work, in corporations, in your own business, in family. We say a lot that, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but we never get ourselves to start those things. We always put them off and put them off and put them off and put them off. You have great organizations saying that these are our ambitions, we want to do this, and they put them off and they put them off and they put them off. Even countries, put off decisions. They say, oh, we want to cut. I was listening to Joe Biden the other day, President of America, and they say that they want to cut their greenhouse emissions by half by 2030. And okay, I'm very optimistic. I really hope they'll achieve that. But don't be surprised if come 2030 they haven't done any of that. Why? Because of procrastination. Things come in and they make different choices and they do this and they put that off. So it's not just something that affects individuals like you and I. It affects everything. It affects organizations. It affects people. It affects churches. It affects groups of people. It affects children. It affects adults. It affects the elderly. It affects professionals, lay people, all sorts of people. It cuts across everywhere. And so it's very important to understand what this is, what this disease is, and really find ways to address it for our own success. Now, I found this quote here, and I thought it sums it up really well. It says, procrastination is like a credit card. It's a lot of fun until you get the bill. You just swipe it, you spend it here, you spend it there. It's a lot of fun. It's like, it's easy to procrastinate. It's easy to put things off. But then the bill, when you get the bill at the end, of what it's going to cost you putting things off, it's immense and it's huge. But what's even more unfortunate is the fact that more often than not, we don't realize that bill is because of procrastination. You end up almost like paying for it, but you don't quite realize that was the reason for the problem. So it's very insidious in that sense, that we don't realize how much it affects us and it has an impact on our lives, putting things off. So definition, what is procrastination? This is just the habit of putting things off. In layman's terms, that's what it is. It's just the habit of putting things off. Like this little fella here in that picture there. It says, yes, I'll stop procrastinating. That's his plan. And then he goes on to say tomorrow. So he wants to stop procrastinating, but he's going to do that tomorrow. He's procrastinating to stop procrastinating, which is quite ironic, but there you have it. So that habit of putting things off is what procrastination is. And it springs from a Latin word, procrastinus, which stands for anything forward, and crastinus speaks of tomorrow. So literally, procrastination is forwarding today's work tomorrow. Basically, that's what it is. Something that you could have done today, you push it to tomorrow. But unfortunately, tomorrow never comes. We only live today. I mean, you might say, oh, but there is tomorrow. Yes, there is tomorrow, but you can only live it when it's today. Even tomorrow has to be today for you to actually live it. You'll never be able to do anything tomorrow. You'll always do things today. So this notion that, I'll do this tomorrow, is an illusion in itself, and therefore that's why procrastination is a huge problem, because you always think, oh, I have tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, but that tomorrow never comes, and as a result, weeks pass, months pass, years pass even, and you realize you haven't done what you set out to do. So it's a huge problem, and it's something that we need to deal with. So I pose a question to you guys. Why do we procrastinate? What do you think? I want us to have a bit of a discussion here before I share with you my slide. Why do you think we procrastinate? What are the reasons for procrastination? I'll invite a few people to contribute.
Charles, is it something to do with our ancestry, as in when you're not having to? I don't know. Is it something from like our, what they call it, our new brain, or our old selves, where you rest in between hunting or something? Is it something inherent that you have to override?
Or are you posing a question as well, Paul?
Sort of. I think that's where it is. I think it's something built in from thousands of years of programming that you have to override. I'm not sure.
I mean, if I can add on to that, yeah, like anything else, procrastination there is some genetic influence to it, if that's where you are going with it, and in a sense that we have carried it over the generations, and it goes way back, like you're saying, back in the days when life was a lot simpler in the sense that we as humans, being creatures of survival, we didn't really have to think so far ahead. You don't have to plan for next month. All you're thinking about is what's my next meal going to be, and therefore that tendency to push away things that are for the future, not really worry about them, and just deal with the present and now, and dealing with the challenges of now, really became ingrained in us as the way of survival, really. And so it is true. So it naturally, as humans, we tend to look at situations and anything that doesn't bring immediate satisfaction, immediate gratification, immediate reward per se, we tend to sort of procrastinate it, push it back. Say, I'll do this tomorrow, and I'll do something that gives me immediate reward, whether that be resting, whether that be playing, whether that being doing something else, but something that you feel gives you immediate reward. So you're quite right, Paul. I think there is some genetic predisposition to that we are kind of built in that way. Absolutely. Any other contribution, guys?
I think I've got a bit of a contribution to that.
Go for it, Rennie.
I think my thoughts are, the reason we procrastinate is because we don't know the reward of not procrastinating. But if we realize the reward of it, then chances are we will not be procrastinating. Yeah, I mean, for instance, if somebody offered, is it Paul who was just talking?
Yeah.
£1 million in 1 month, if he did not procrastinate, I bet you what, you would forget everything about genetics and you would not procrastinate. You will make sure that everything that you have in mind, you tend to do it. And I think that's where the thing is, because either the reward is, so say, for instance, like you want to have a six-pack, or a big bank account. A lot of us look at, I want to have a big bank account now. But the thing is, most of the things that we do, it requires us to do over a long period of time.
Absolutely.
Say for a six-pack, you need to go to the gym and be disciplined in your food and all that. It might take you a good 6 months to 1 year to be able to even see a pack for some of us. But when we get to, but if I was told that if I don't have to procrastinate to go to the gym and somebody's going to give me £100,000, trust me, that procrastination goes out of the window. So I think we can argue, you can put a little bit of genetics, but I think it's habit. We're humans, we are creatures of habits, and some of these things we've just made it a habit, And the thing is, we procrastinate things that are not, let's say important, or we feel at the time they're not important to us, even if they are.
Actually, on that note, Rennie, because you brought a really important point there. Let me ask you guys a question, a really quick question. If I ask you guys right now, a choice between these two things, right? And I want to hear from as many of you as possible. So if you can use the chat section, it might be really good. You choose one or the other. What would you choose? £10,000 today. Someone is offering you money, right? Someone is offering you £10,000 today for free, or £20,000 in 5 years. What would you choose?
Easy.
£10,000.
£10,000 today.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, someone else there is putting 10,000 today as well.
Yeah, easy.
£10,000 today.
Yeah.
But 20,000 is more than 10,000. Why would you choose less?
Well, I may not live to 5 years. It's today that I'm alive. I may not be here tomorrow, so why should I gamble that? No.
Okay, let me make it more challenging. 10,000 today, 20,000 in 2 years.
No, I'll take the
10,000 today. I think you take anything today.
Today.
Okay, but do you see the point I'm trying to make here? The point I'm trying to make here is that the way we are built in as humans, anything that is far in the future tends to have less value.
Yes.
It's almost like things in our minds depreciate the farther away they are from us.
Yeah.
And therefore, 10,000 today is more valuable than 20,000 in so many years.
Yeah.
But absolutely, 20,000 is more than 10,000. But we would still choose the less amount today than the one in the future, because in our minds, time makes that value depreciate, if that makes sense. And so it's the same thing with procrastination. Usually, if something doesn't give you an immediate reward, even though that reward can be so huge, like what Ren is saying, we all know that when you put in the hard work, when you're consistent with it, when you do all the right things, eventually they will pay off. But because that paying off is so far in the future, today it doesn't carry the same value in your mind. Now that's where the mindset issue comes into play, as much as if you were getting that reward soon enough. So we have to find ways to hack that, if you like. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we talk about how to overcome procrastination. How do you hack that? How do you tell yourself otherwise? How do you tell yourself that actually, waiting for that future delayed gratification is good for you? And we'll see that more when we talk about how to overcome procrastination. But it's a very important point you brought there, Ren, you came on. And I think it's very important to look at it that way, because that will really help us overcome procrastination. Someone actually said 20K in 2 years. One chose 20K in 2 years. Another one said 20,000 in 2 years with a signed document. That's interesting, a bit of assurance. But I think that point does make sense, that the longer the time it is towards the reward, the less value of that reward is. Okay, guys, allow me to share my screen a bit more, and then we can have a bit of a discussion a bit later again, and see where we go with this. Where were we? Right. Okay, so why do we procrastinate? We've talked about this lack of motivation. It's true. If you're not motivated to do something, chances are you'll put it off. Why? Because usually, if you've got several tasks to do, and we always have several tasks to do, you always tend to be drawn towards that thing that gives you most fulfillment, that gives you more joy. If I'm becoming more technical, that thing that gives you your reward quicker. It makes, it brings that reward a lot quicker. And usually we get drawn to those things. So if you don't have the motivation to do what you're supposed to do, chances are you'll put it off and do the other things that gives you the reward. So lack of motivation is one of the reasons why we procrastinate. lack of interest. Now, this is different from motivation, because with interest, it speaks more of indifference. Indifference in the sense that you're not really bothered. You look at it and you kind of think like, right, what difference is it going to make? If I do it, if I don't do it, it's not going to make any difference. So why bother? Because usually the more, when we feel that something is really important, the more importance we attach to something, or the more importance we attach to our role in that something, the more likely we are to do what we're supposed to do. That's why usually it's quite interesting. Someone, when you put responsibilities on people's shoulders, they tend to perform better. They tend to do more. Even at their places of work, people tend to do more when they feel they have more responsibilities upon them. They feel that what they're doing matters. How many times have you seen even football players? They're not really doing so well, and the coach gives them the armband, makes them the captains, and all of a sudden they start running the show. They take all the responsibility. They do a lot more than they should do. Why? Because all of a sudden they become very interested. Why? Because they feel that what they're contributing makes the difference. So that's also one of the reasons why people might procrastinate, when there is that lack of interest. Indecision. There is a day we spent time talking about the diseases of attitude. If you remember, if you were here, indecision is one of them. You go through time, weeks, months, years even, you can't decide whether you want to do something or not. As a result, you keep procrastinating it. So the reason you're not actually doing it is because you haven't quite made up your mind. For instance, you're saying, you know what, I really want to change my career, for instance, or I really want to do my career development. I want to go to that next level. But then I need to take, maybe I need to take some courses at the local college or at the university. But then I can't quite decide which course to take. Okay. Now, you may sit in that state that you can't quite decide, should I do, MBA, or should I do MSc psychology? And you might sit on that discussion, on that dilemma for years. And that becomes the procrastination. So you're procrastinating developing yourself. You're procrastinating educating yourself. You're procrastinating doing your career development, because you can't quite decide what you want to do. So indecision can be a really big reason why you procrastinate. Lack of organization. This is also a big one. If you're disorganized, if you don't, you remember when we talked about, having your goals, having your plan, having things in place, organizing your space, knowing where things are, knowing what needs to be done when, having your time management well laid out. If you don't have that organization, you're more likely to procrastinate. Imagine you're waking up in the morning and you have 10 things that you need to do, but you have no clue how you're going to do them. You have no clue when you're going to do them. You have no clue what time you need to do them. Chances are it will come at the end of the day, 9 of those things will not get done. And maybe even the one that was done is probably even done poorly. Why? Because you are not organized. So lack of organization can lead people to procrastinate and put things off, because we just failed to organize ourselves better. Task complexity, that's also very important. I've seen that to myself many times. When you perceive that something that needs to be done is complex and it's big and it's difficult, chances are you'll keep putting it off. So you look at the task and you think, this is too huge, this is too difficult. And rather than starting it and breaking it into chunks and start doing it, you kind of think, it's too big, I don't have the energy for it today. And you put it off. And you realize you keep putting things off because in a way it appears like this big elephant. So task complexity can be a reason why we procrastinate. Depression, sadness, and other negative emotions. We've seen this before when we were talking about motivation. If you're in a foul mood, you have depression, you're feeling sad, you're feeling down, you have other negative emotions, anger, hate, all those things, they can all cause you to procrastinate, because you don't feel equipped to do something. You feel that sense of apathy, sense of not really, you don't have the drive, and that could cause you to procrastinate. Distractions. Now, this is also a big one. How many times have you sat down to do something and then something else comes up and you find yourself 2-3 hours later, you haven't done what you set out to do. You ended up doing something completely different. Distractions can be a huge reason why we procrastinate. So that's also something we'll look at later on in trying to avoid procrastinating. More reasons come. Lack of energy, also a big one. Or you feel, I feel so tired today. I can't start this. This is such a huge task. If I start it, I won't complete it. So I'm not going to bother. Stresses around us, we get so stressed, so we don't do what we need to do. Fear of success or failure. Now, this is an interesting one. And because we can get our head around the fear of failure. That you don't want to try something because you're afraid you'll fail, so you don't start in the first place. But then there is also fear of success. And fear of success goes like this. It's usually very much similar to fear of change. Sometimes you feel like, if I succeed into this, it means change. It means that this will be associated with change. For instance, I know people that are not happy with the work they're doing. They feel like they need to develop themselves. But at the same time, they think if I motivate myself and I develop myself, and maybe I do courses and I get promotions, and maybe I become a team leader or I become a manager, that comes with responsibilities, and maybe that means I might lose my friends. I might have to maybe go to a different place. Maybe I won't be able to work here. And people think about all those things and think like, do I really want to change? I'm quite comfortable here. I've already got friends. I know what I'm doing. I don't want that. And as a result, they procrastinate. They put off the idea of them developing themselves. Why? Because they are afraid of success. Okay? And it's you'll be amazed. That is very common, and it can come in lots of different shapes and forms. And it can lead people to procrastinate as well. So fear of success or failure is another reason there. Another one that goes without saying, laziness and lack of discipline. If you're indisciplined, the same as with not being organized, it may lead you to procrastinate. I want to share with you this procrastinator's code, which I found it quite funny. I found it online many years back, and I actually recorded it, and I had it in my computer. And I just want to share with you. Basically, this is what goes on in the mind of a procrastinator. And this is how it goes. I must be perfect. Okay? That's what a procrastinator would say. So they would not do something because they think, I must be perfect. Because if I can't be perfect, then I won't even try. And do you remember when we were talking about motivation? Perfection is an illusion. If you want to succeed, strive for progress. Strive for development. You just need to keep improvement. That's the word I was looking for. Don't strive for perfection, strive for improvement. So that's the first one. Everything I do should go easily and without effort. Another one of procrastinators' code. Okay, you remember we talked about life is difficult, challenges everywhere. Now, in a procrastinator's mind, they expect things to be easy, and because when they go out in reality and they find them to be hard, what do? They stop doing it altogether. It is safer to do nothing than to take a risk and fail. Fear of failure. That's another one of procrastinators' mindset. I should have no limitations. They don't want time limits. They don't want deadlines. They don't want to have this. So they tell you what, people who procrastinate, they are great dreamers. They love to dream. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to achieve this. What they don't want is to set deadlines. And how do you realize a procrastinator? They come up with their big dreams. Ask them, right, so when do you want to achieve that by? Maybe they might fumble up and say, oh yeah, I want to do that in 5 years. And it's like, okay, brilliant. So what would you like to achieve in 1 year, in this first year? They go like, not sure. Okay, what would you want to do today to make you realize that dream you want to achieve in 5 years? I don't know. See? So they don't like the limits, they don't like the setup, they don't like the timelines. And as a result, they end up procrastinating because they like the idea of the bigger picture, but they don't like the steps needed to be taken on a daily basis in the timelines in order to achieve that. If it's not done right, it's not worth doing at all. Perfectionism. So it's like, why didn't you do that? It's because I thought I'm not really good at it, and therefore I didn't want to try. I must avoid being challenged. How many times have you heard someone say, I didn't do such and such because I didn't want to get challenged? Or they may not actually say that outright, but by implication, that's what they mean. They didn't do something because they don't like to be challenged. They want people to tell them that, oh, that's not the right way of doing it, or why are you doing that? So eventually they procrastinate because they don't like to be challenged. People pleasers, if you like. This is a funny one. If I succeed, someone will get hurt. Do you remember those people who have fear of success? These are the ones. This is the mindset. If I succeed, someone will get hurt. That person might be themselves. I will lose my friends. I will lose my comfort zone. I'm already comfortable here. I'll have to move. I'll have to change. So they don't like to succeed. Why? Not that they don't like to succeed. They like success and they like what success brings. What they don't like is the change that is associated with success. A few more. If I do well this time, I must always do well. I've had this one. I was speaking to a friend of mine one time, and we were challenging each other on it was actually about exercising. And this person was like, oh, you know what? I don't want to start exercising because I know if I start now and I fail and I do it for a while and then I fail later, then it's going to be a disappointment to myself. It's going to be a disappointment to my friends. So I'm not going to try. I'm not even going to start. So the reason they don't start is because they're afraid that if they start, they have to always do it, and if they don't, then it's going to be a failure. So they don't start in the first place. And that's how it works when it comes to procrastination. It's quite fascinating. Following someone's rules means giving in and not in control. Again, this is all about rebellion, isn't it? How many times do we put things off because we feel like if we do it, we are almost like submitting to someone else's authority? We see this a lot in places of work, when you have these feuds, people with their managers, they have their works, they have their time scales, they have things to do. They start putting works off. Why? Because they feel like by doing that, they're submitting to someone they don't like and submitting to authority. And all this, when I'm talking about all these things, take place in the subconscious mind, takes place in the mind of the procrastinator, and it's very subconscious. And all these affect people's performance and it makes them put things off. I can't afford to let go of everything or anyone. Remember, fear of success, they don't want change. There is the right answer and I will wait until I find it. Again, perfectionism. So someone doesn't try something, doesn't start something, because they want to have everything. It's good to do research, but sometimes when you do too much research and not actually do what you're supposed to do, that just becomes paralysis. What's it called? Is it paralysis by analysis, isn't it? Or is it analysis? Yeah, paralysis by analysis or something like that.
No, analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it is. You're trying to analyze everything. You're trying to get everything in place. As a result, you don't get to act at all. So that again is what goes on into the procrastinator's mindset, and maybe a reason why people procrastinate. If I expose my real self, people won't like me. Remember those people pleasers? So someone doesn't want to venture into something new because they're afraid what people would think of them. And as a result, what do? They keep putting it off. So they know it's an important thing to do. They know it's the value of doing it, but because they're afraid of what people might think of them, what people might say about them, they put it off. I will not put in my best effort. So if I do poorly, I'll be able to tell myself that if I worked harder, I would have done that better. This is very interesting. So someone doesn't do their best. They hold it back so that they can have an excuse for themselves. So when it doesn't quite work out, they can turn around and say, you know what, I didn't put much effort anywhere. Again, that's what procrastinators do. They are afraid of giving their all because they're afraid of failure. Remember the fear of failure? So they don't give their all as a result because they're afraid to fail. Consequences of procrastination. Before I go into that, so what do you guys think about the procrastinator's code? Do you identify with some of those things? Do you see yourself in some of those things? Let's have a bit of a conversation there. What do you guys think? And then we'll talk about the consequences and how to stop procrastination and finish the conversation today. Any ideas, guys? If there's
Yeah,
nothing,
hello.
yep,
Hello.
yep. Go on. Who's that?
Yeah, I kind of is me Emeka.
Yes, Emeka.
To be fair, I'll be honest with you, I kind of identify with those things. I'm more of a procrastinator. One thing I've come to realize, I'm not really a risk taker. I'm kind of scared of the unknown. That how will I, in terms of just some things I'm struggling with in terms of trying to get ahead in life. I guess on some level, scared of the unknown in terms of what if I can't cope? What if it becomes so difficult? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, you're not an anomaly, Emeka. You're not the only one. I mean, I can tell you, every single one of us falls into that spectrum of procrastination at one stage or another.
Yeah. I won't say I'm a risk taker. I won't say I'm a risk taker. That's one of my biggest flaws, and it kind of explains why I'm still where I am today, and I never moved forward in life. I never got ahead in life.
What? Because you're a risk taker, you said?
Because I'm not really a risk taker.
Oh, you're not a risk taker. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a spectrum. Let me put it this way. We're not all risk takers. We are not all this or that or the other. There is no cut and dry when it comes to procrastination and when it comes to motivation. We are all in a spectrum. What's very important, and I like what Emeka has just said and why he's shared so freely with us all, is the fact that we need to understand ourselves. We need to know where we are. We need to understand. We almost like we need to profile ourselves. And once we know where we are, we will know what tools we need to get the best out of ourselves. You understand? So like what Emeka is saying, I think Emeka is in a really good position, because then now that he knows himself, that he tends to be risk evasive, then he knows what he needs to work on.
Charles, can I also say, not taking a risk is a risk itself?
Thank you, Rennie. Jim Rohn puts it really well. He says life is so risky that no one is going to get out of it alive. So you better stop avoiding risk, because risk is all around us. It's true. Even avoiding risk in itself is risky, because like Emeka put it really openly, it can really hamper your progress, because you end up really not doing anything because you're so afraid of venturing out and trying new things. So procrastination can be a huge problem to us all. Let's go really quickly on the consequences of procrastination, and then we can talk very briefly about how to overcome procrastination. It's very obvious. It leads to a loss of precious time. I mean, it's amazing how much time we lose by procrastinating. I have lost years, I can tell you, out of procrastination, and that is of my own personal testimony. There are so many things that I sometimes look back and think, crikey, if only I did this many years back, where would I be now? I mean, yes, circumstances are different, but the truth of the matter is, the reason I've done it now is not because maybe I'm in a better position or because circumstances are much better. It's just because I galvanized the energy to do it now. If I did it then, if I could draw that same energy then and did it, I would have probably been much better off. So loss of precious time, that is huge. And it's very unfortunate that usually on the hindsight, we don't quite quantify it as much and realize how much we've actually lost. But if we did, I think we'll probably do better. The way we spend our time and the way we make the most of it as we go forward. Loss of opportunities, this goes without saying. Opportunities always come, but they always go as well. Opportunities don't stay with us forever. It comes, and after a time it expires, it goes. Now, if you procrastinate, you'll miss the opportunity. And so many opportunities I've missed in my life. Oh my. Where do I start? I don't even want to go down that road now. We won't finish today. But loss of opportunity. So usually when we procrastinate, we lose a lot as a result. Unmet goals. We've talked a lot about goal setting and planning and doing these things. But if we keep procrastinating, it comes at the end of the year. We haven't done much about what we said we were going to do at the start of the year. You remember when we talked about New Year's resolutions, that 88% of the resolutions are not met come the end of the year. So that's all because of procrastination. Career slump, no growth. you end up being in the same place. You're not really growing. You're not really developing. Why? Because you keep putting things off. You keep putting your career development off. You keep putting your personal development off. So what ends up, you end up staying in the comfort zone. You remember the issue of survival? You're just sort of maintaining your status quo. You don't want to develop. You don't want to grow. As a result, you end up slumping and not really developing. Lowered self-esteem. Why? Because you become a poor and underachiever. Why are you an underachiever? Because you're not really venturing out to try new things. And that leads to lowered self-esteem. So you feel like you're a failure, I'm not achieving anything. But if you dig deep, you realize the reason for that is because you've been procrastinating things. And as a result, you are putting things off and you're not doing them properly. As a result, you end up with low self-esteem. Poor decision making. Now, this is a classic one because you procrastinate, you wait things until last minute. It comes at the last minute, deadlines, you have to really do them in a rush. You make poor judgments, you make poor decisions because you are squeezed in time. And as a result, you end up paying the consequences. If you dig deep, why that started is because of procrastination. If you did things in time, you'd have time to think things through. You'd have time to make adjustments if you make failures because you have the time. But if you wait till last minute, you don't have that time. You end up with poor decisions, and chances are things don't quite work in your favor. Damaged reputation. This goes without saying. If you're a procrastinator, it means you don't quite do what you say you would say. You make promises, you don't fulfill them, or at least you don't fulfill them in time. As a result, you become untrustworthy. Even at places of work, you hear managers saying that I can't trust such and such. Why? Because they will give them tasks and those people won't be able to do them. Or you hear these things about some people can't work unsupervised. You can't leave someone to do unsupervised work. Why? Because it won't get done. Why? Because of procrastination. They are skilled, they have the experience, but they just don't get things done because they keep procrastinating. So usually that will damage your reputation, a place of work, in your business, in your personal life, in your relationships. So procrastination has arms everywhere. And finally, it has risk even on health, and that goes for mental health. We talked about issues about stress. It leads to stress. It leads to frustration. It leads to low self-esteem. It leads to depression even. But also physical. It can even lead to, there is actually a study that was done and it linked procrastination to hypertension. It can actually lead to increased blood pressure as a result. And probably that is related to stress, because stress is linked to hypertension. So procrastination is really bad for us, and we need to do everything in our power to ensure that we overcome it. And that's the conversation we're just about to have. Now, I don't want to keep talking and bore you with so much of my own input. So when it comes to overcoming procrastination, I just want to have a couple of minutes of discussion, say about 5-6 minutes. I want to hear from you guys. How can we overcome procrastination? What steps can we take to overcome procrastination? What do you guys think? How can we overcome procrastination? Let's have a chat, guys.
Yeah, for me, Charles, I would say, number one, I think you have to set your priorities. Set your priorities. And then there is somebody who said, I think somebody said that you need to live like today is your last day.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So live as today is your last day. So don't bank on tomorrow. I think that will help. That, okay, today I will do what matters today, as today is my last day. I think that really helps.
Because of course, one day you'll be right.
Sorry, Bob.
Did you say something?
I said, I said, of course, it lives every day like it's your last day, because one day you'll be right.
That one day it will be your last day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you have to, none of us know what number we are on. What's going on? We could live for 90, we could have another week, 24 hours, who knows?
And
I think you've just got to
And like I said,
or there was a famous expression somebody said years ago to me in a birthday card when I was 30. Was it make the most of life and take life by the balls? Is what she said. To want for a better phrase, you know. You have to grab it. You have to take everything and get hold of it and go with it. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, like I said before, you know, you only live today anyway. Even when you talk about tomorrow, you can only live it when it becomes today. So if you can't get anything done today, you never get anything done tomorrow because you'll only live today. So absolutely, that's a really important point. Any other contribution, guys? How do we defeat this disease of procrastination? Yes, Grace.
Don't stress about yesterday. It's irrelevant. Learn from the failures and don't think you can plan for tomorrow on paper, but live for today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul. Grace, you had something to say.
Well, however little you can do, just tackle it. Do it. If you do a little bit today, tomorrow you carry on doing little. You get there. Yeah, don't wait to be motivated. Just go for it. Do it anyway. Don't wait.
I love that, Grace. I love that. Yeah, but baby steps. If you aim too big or to do too much and you don't achieve it, it can set you back and depress you. So you take small steps to make bigger things over time.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Just do it. Just like the Nike says.
Just do it.
Just do it. Thank you so much. Another contribution. I think Rennie, before you go, Paul, Rennie had his hand up. If Rennie first, then Paul next. Yes, Rennie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, someone wise told me, you need to write down a list, and then you look at your list and check the list with the most consequences, and then that's what you should focus on.
Elaborate a bit more on that.
Okay, say you have a list. Say, okay, fine. You wake up in the morning and say, okay, fine. I've got to pay my insurance. I've got to clean the dishes. I've got to go for shopping. And when you look at that sort of list and you say, okay, fine, so say procrastinate insurance, say like, I'll do the insurance later. Insurance has got the most consequences because if you don't insure your car, you could get your 6 points, you could get your car, and you'd end up spending a lot of money. That's just a hypothetical kind of thinking. So when you have a list of things to do, you look at it and you find, okay, fine, this one has got the most consequences. So let me focus on this one, finish it, and then I can jump into the next one.
Absolutely. So you need to set your priorities right. And it goes back to that point of having your goals and your plans and having things set up in such a way you know what's really important to you, what's major to you and what's minor. Because usually if you don't do that, you end up doing all those sort of like trivial things and they take so much of your time and you end up neglecting the important bits, which are usually the bigger ones. And if things are big, we tend to procrastinate because we are avoiding the complexity. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So you need to have those priorities right and tackle the ones that are of most priority. Absolutely. How else can we overcome procrastination, guys? Paul?
One thing I wanted to say as well is that most of the time when we procrastinate, it costs our lives without realizing. So what I wanted to say is that you need to know that if you don't do it today, it will cost you more to do tomorrow. I think if we put it kind of like in monetary value, but not really. But if you put in that perspective that if I don't do it today, tomorrow it will cost me more because I'll have other things to do. Probably I'll be aged at that time. I'll be old. So I'll have to catch up. I'll be playing a catch-up game in my life. So it will cost you more. And also another thing I wanted to say as well, if you keep on procrastinating, you are risking of leaving this world without accomplishing what you were created to do. I like somebody whom I follow a lot, Dr. Miles Monroe. He was saying that he wants to die empty. So whatever God has put in his life, his mission was to die empty, so that when he goes into the grave, he's not going to enrich a graveyard. Because otherwise, most of us are going to enrich graveyard instead of leaving the things that we are brought with to this world to leave it with other people. So he was doing whatever he was doing every single day to make sure that when he dies empty. So I think if you have that mentality, it will help you that I don't want to go and enrich a graveyard. I want to go there empty. I want to leave everything that I've been brought with in this world here in the world. I'll better enrich the world rather than enriching the graveyard. I think that will motivate you to do things every single day.
Wow, wow, that is powerful, Paul. Thank you so much. Is there any other contribution? I'll invite one more, and then I'll go through the last bits of slides to finish.
Hello, Charles.
Yes, Emeka.
Another thing about to avoid procrastination is one thing I've come to realize in life. As you get older, you go through life full of regrets. That wow, I wish I did this when I was much younger. But it's just that, so it's just about like what to add to what the other guy mentioned in terms of, if to avoid procrastination, you have to like live, you have to make sure you accomplish everything you want to do. So you can live, you have to live this world. Yes, that you lived the life. Rather than just because at the end of the day, is when you leave this world, what will you be remembered for?
Legacy.
Your legacy, what will you be remembered for? Because it's one thing to live in the world, and then when you come out, you are forgettable. What impact? I don't know.
We won't be remembered for the car we drive, or the house we own, or the money we earned. That's for sure. That won't make us remembered.
Yeah, it's your character and your reputation. Which adds to what the other guy mentioned in terms of living that when you in terms of doing things so that you don't want to leave this world feeling unfulfilled.
Absolutely. Now those are some really important points you've raised there, Emeka, because it speaks to what Rennie was saying before as well about having your priorities right, having to think what's really important here, and so when you're talking about legacy, what you're going to leave behind, what really is going to make a difference, and really investing your time into doing those, because once you start thinking that way, you start valuing your time more. Because sometimes we tend to waste time because we don't know how valuable that time is, and how scarce that time is, and so having that sort of mindset, having that sort of mentality in the way we approach our actions and our days can really make us more impactful and more effective, because we value that time and the priorities that we set for ourselves. Now, guys, allow me to, I know we're running out of time, but allow me to do the last bit of presentation, and then we can wrap this up. I will skip this bit. I love maths, so I brought a bit of maths in my presentation, but we'll skip that for today. So overcoming procrastination. I love this quote here. It says, "Someday is not a day of the week. There is no such day as someday. We only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday through Sunday. There is no someday. But when it comes to procrastination, it's always about someday. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. Someday I'll do that. So yeah. So let's go to the point. Break down the tasks. We talked about this. Have it in very little chunks, because when you break something down, you can achieve it. You remember those loops in that video we watched? If you're doing it in those little loops and you succeed in that little thing, then that allows you to tackle a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one. And that's how you overcome procrastination. Create timelines for each activity. Very important. We talked about that. Keep tasks small. Lower the bar. Someone talked about lowering the bar. Don't set the bar too high, because then that would demotivate you. But if you set the bar low and you start building from there, then that allows you, because you want to get that vibe, that hype of succeeding, that hype of achieving something, and then you can build from there. Reward yourself after completing tasks. This is really important. Why? Do you remember when we were talking about that if the reward is too far away, then the value of it becomes less. So sometimes if you have a task, say you're trying to lose weight, for instance. Now, if you have to wait until you've actually lost weight to the weight that you consider to be ideal for you to say, oh, I've succeeded, chances are you'll give up along the way, because the pain of exercising for so long, for months, years even, to get you where you want to get is too much. So you have to find ways to reward yourself along the way. You need to have sort of like milestones where you look at and say that if I achieve this, then I'll reward myself. This is good. If I get here, have those rewards, because those are the ones that will take you, that will allow you to keep at it and stay the course. So that's also really important. Minimize distractions. And there is no greater distraction than digital distraction. Mobile phones, computers, TVs, those things. You have to minimize them. I can tell you so many times I've sat on my computer wanting to do one thing, and then the moment I go, I open, say, the browser. I want to go on the internet to do some research or something. I go on my browser, and the first thing, these browsers these days, they bring all these suggestions because they know my interests. So they kind of tailor-make the ads and everything to my interests. So you start having these things, conversations about football and conversation about politics and about this, that, and the other, and business. And all of a sudden, I find myself for a good 20 minutes, even half an hour, I've been browsing things I wasn't there to do because I've gotten distracted. Or sometimes you just pick up your phone and then one message leads to another, and you go to this WhatsApp group, and you go to that, and you go to Facebook. Half an hour later, 1 hour later, you haven't done what you said you'd do because of those distractions. So you have to find ways to minimize those distractions. You know, sometimes you have to turn your mobile phone off. Sometimes you have to put yourself on flight mode to stop these distractions from coming through if you're tackling something really important. So that's also very, very, very important. And finally, I mean, this list is not exhaustive. There are so many other things like what we've discussed, but create accountabilities. One of the reasons why we procrastinate is because we do not have accountability. The reason why we don't tend to procrastinate as much at work than we do at home is because you are more accountable at work. You know, you have your line manager, you have your supervisor, you have your team leader, you know, you have you have supervisions, you have inspections, you have all these things that keep you at it, because there is that accountability. You know that if I don't do it within this frame of time, then I'm in trouble. And that's why we always keep doing that. So what we can do, the hack is to create these accountabilities in other areas of our lives. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to exercise, create accountability, find accountability partners. Do you have a coach? Do you have mentors? You know, do you have people that can hold you to account? Do you have reasons why, the reasons that will make you want to achieve those things? Because if you don't, someone will hold you to account. So you need to create those things to be able to achieve those, because sometimes without those, if you try to rely on your own grit, sometimes it doesn't always work. I mean, there are people who can do that on themselves and they can generate that grit and do it. But 99% of people can't, and therefore relying on that or just being told that you just do it on itself may not really work. You may need to have those accountability partners to hold you to account and really push you towards your destination, because we all do need each other to enrich ourselves and to do the things that we wanted to do. That's the end of the presentation. I know this was a marathon, and I hope it was valuable to you. Let me stop sharing. But before we go, let me invite two people to contribute, and then we will wrap this thing up. So what do you guys think about procrastination? Final few words?
Yeah, there's a saying that procrastination is a theft of time, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a theft of time.
And time is so precious. So,
yeah,
so if you lose time, you've lost everything pretty much. So if we can overcome procrastination, I think we're in a good place.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Grace.
Wonderful.
One more contribution, and then we wrap this up. Rennie, I see you've got something to say.
No, I'm waiting. I don't have much. But I think it's been very educating. I think what I take on with me is the perfection bit, because we all want to be perfect, to set things off. There's so much stuff I've set aside about because I wanted it to be the right time, but then I remember perfection is for lazy people. It's not even procrastinating. People who are saying like, oh, I've got to wait for it to be perfect before bringing it out there. It's just laziness, basically, But then again, like, also what I take on is the breaking stuff into small chunks, because like we talked earlier on when we were talking about how the spiral, like with the roller coaster stuff. When we break the big stuff, they say there's a saying which goes like the only way to eat an elephant is by chunks, chunk by chunk.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way we can sort of, when we have these goals, like just break them down and just take them as they come, slowly but slowly, and then we get into that roller coaster stuff, and then with that, hopefully we can achieve the big major goal, really. And there's a wise guy also who talked about motivation. He said motivation is like having a shower. You don't have a shower one day and you say I'm clean. You have a shower every single day, So there's the same thing. We need to get motivated, and we need to also sort of maybe keep on listening to these sessions, so we can get encouraged in our small struggles. Because I know after here, it is good. We can sit here for 1.5, 2 hours and listen to you and enjoy and get motivated. But then when we go in out there to face our own struggles, it's different. So I think it will be, we should just sort of probably just commit ourselves more to be having these sessions and listening more. And then maybe from that, we can build ourselves up and use this as a tool for us to get to our next level. Yeah, like sort of like to kickstart our roller coaster and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't have summed it up better, my friend.
Yeah.
I think you've summed it up so nicely. I see Paul has something to say. Paul.
Just a small thing. When we get up in the morning, we have our breakfast, we make a cup of tea, we do these habitual things, even a processing of, for now I'm going to do this, we just do it. And if there's something you want to stop procrastinating, if you can do something consistently enough for enough days, it becomes automatic. It becomes a non-thought process. It's just something that's in your subconscious that you do. Like if you can get up and go for a run every morning without a break for say 7:30 every morning, if you can do that for so many weeks, it becomes just something that you do, and you don't have to force yourself out the door. It just happens. You just get up and do it as part of your normal morning routine without even a thought about it.
Absolutely.
So you can encompass that idea. If there's something that you're procrastinating and it's something you want to do every day, if you can just find a way of nailing it for so many weeks or so many days, then it becomes the norm, and you no longer procrastinate because it's just part of your routine.
Yeah, I think a while back we talked about the power of repetition, and it's a really powerful tool. Once you do something consistently for so long, then it becomes ingrained. It becomes part of your new habits, if you like. And
it's a bit like driving. The way I was trying to describe it, it's a bit like driving a car. When you first learn to drive a car, clutch, mirror, signal, brake, and do it. And once you've done that for so many years, you don't even you can get to your destination and you have no recollection of even doing the clutch, biting point, any of that. It's just a completely automatic process that you have no memory of.
Absolutely. And that's just how we need to run our lives, isn't it? Just like driving a car. We become pros at it, and we don't have to think. We make the conscious unconscious. We become unconscious. What do they say? Unconsciously competent, isn't it? And that's the aim eventually. So yeah. So a day at a time, a seminar at a time, a book at a time, we slowly get there. And
even flashcards, you can put flashcards up in your house. Something you want to do, you put pictures of it up. I know somebody I used to work with. He wanted to lose weight, and he put a picture of himself from 20 years ago an A3 picture of what he used to look like on his bedroom wall. And every time he woke up in the morning, he saw the picture of himself from 20 years ago. And that motivated him to lose like 10 stone or something. It was, and he found that helped him because every day he woke up and he saw that picture. The first thing he saw when he woke up was what he used to look like. And it motivated him to make himself back to that again.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. Like what Rennie said before, all these things that we're sharing here today, these are like tools. They don't always work for everyone because we're all different, but I'm sure there are tools that work better for you. And that's why I said before, it's very important to understand yourself, to know your triggers, to know what works for you, and therefore try and work around yourself, if you like, to get the best out of what you do. So having said that, thank you so much for your time. I hope this was good value for you. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. We're going to continue these conversations because, like we said, motivation is not a one touch thing. It's something that we have to do constantly. And so in 2 weeks' time, we'll be here again talking about something else, keeping ourselves sharpening each other and really encouraging one another to pursue our dreams and goals. And I really hope the best for each one of you. Have a fantastic weekend and hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. God bless.